Raj brings up what was Sheldon's favorite amino acid, and that he got this wrong because apparently the favorite amino acid was lysine. And he goes, man, I had that and I changed it. And I did a little dive into lysine because I knew a little bit about it. Do you know anything about it?
I know nothing.
That's because...
Enlighten me.
Do you have herpes?
No.
Oh, okay then.
And I don't have it, and I'm proud of that.
Well, we'll fix that.
Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of the Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot,
make yourself a grasshopper,
and enjoy the ride. Hello there, Ryan.
Hello, Rob.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Wonderful, because we just watched The Friendship Algorithm.
Oh, yeah.
For any new listeners out there, I'm Rob, and this is my co-host, Ryan. We are Theoretical Nonsense, the podcast that recaps, reviews, and deep dives facts from the Big Bang Theory, which we call IQ points. I've seen the series multiple times, but this is Ryan's first time watching, so we do our best to do no spoilers. And Ryan has also been told he's been similar to Sheldon, so we keep a point tally of how close Ryan is to being Sheldon.
Yeah, the total so far is 54 me not being like him and 51 me being like him. I can tell you, this was a pretty Sheldon-heavy episode. We got some Sheldon points coming this way.
All right. Well, we all look forward to hearing about it. And before we get started, a few housekeeping things. Follow the link in our show notes to see all of our social media. And there's also a link there to see a history of all of our IQ points. Still needs a little love. Whenever we actually do have time, we're going to backtrack and hit timestamps for everything. But it's been more of the recent episodes, so bear with us on that. Also, we have an Instagram account at Theoretical Nonsense Pod. You could find us on YouTube, like and subscribe. And as always, shoot us an email at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com, and we will read it out loud. Also, if you give us a 5-star review, we'll give you a shout out. And we kind of talked about this last time about doing some sort of raffle. I'm not sure if you've for any of the 5-star reviewers out there. So we're trying to encourage people to give us a 5-star review. So we're trying to decide and pinpoint what we want to give away. But there is going to be a giveaway where we'll take all the 5-star reviews and put them in a hat and take out a winner.
And also, weren't you talking about how we make sure that the person who entered actually gets the prize? So there's some logistics.
There's some logistical issues that we have to work out. I'm really afraid that there's going to be a Spartacus issue on our hand.
I'm Spartacus.
I am Spartacus. So we need to figure out some logistical things. But either way, send us a 5-star review on Apple, and we will enter you into a raffle. And I won't promise any of the prizes right now. Ryan and I still have to think about what we want to do, but it's going to be good. We'll make sure it's a good one.
Yeah, Rob has a kid.
Anybody want to... He's not a fresh newborn, though. He's a used up 8-month-old now. So
slightly used.
Well, all right. Well, we don't have any new reviews, but we've actually gotten several emails.
Yeah. These emails have kind of made my week. They're very polite. I like them. Yeah.
So we actually have, you saw 3, but there's technically 4 since my dad actually sent an email to my direct email.
Oh, there's a 4th one?
Yeah. So 4 emails this week. So if you don't mind, I'm going to start with my dad because I was actually supposed to read that last week. So sorry, Dad.
Yeah.
All right. Let me pull it up. Well, my dad didn't send me an email regarding any comments or commentary to this. He just sent me a link to the 13 best Sheldon quotes. So I'll put that in our show notes in case anybody is interested. But then I asked him, I was like, hey, what are your favorite quotes of Sheldon? So I told him that I would read out his 2 favorite quotes. So his 2 favorite quotes are, "It must be humbling to suck on so many levels." And I remember that one. It was when they were playing the 3D chess.
Yeah.
And then his second favorite one, which will be a very reoccurring quote, is, "I'm not crazy. My mother had me tested." So thanks, Dad, for sending out that email. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And then we can go into some other emails. So did you want to read one of them first?
Um, yeah, I'll start with Allison's. So Allison says, "Hi guys, I love The Big Bang Theory and definitely have been waiting a while for a good recap podcast. You guys do a great job, and the IQ points are nicely added touch. I think we all wonder whether or not half of the things they discuss on the show are facts or not. I wanted to email you guys last week after listening to the Dr. Stephanie Barnett episodes, but was fairly busy with working a 10-day stretch at work. That's tough. I myself am an ICU nurse practitioner, so I can help out with medical questions you may have. It is 100% a fact that if you are in the medical field and know a hypochondriac, you will be bothered to the degree that Sheldon bothered Stephanie. I am not proud to admit I have performed a Sheldonectomy or two to said hypochondriacs. But hey, we have to have our last 2. Best of luck on the podcast. Can't wait to keep listening, Allison. I think that's awesome. I can totally see it. I try not to do that if I meet a doctor or something like, hey, what do you think this is? I come from a family of lawyers, and they always have people coming up saying, what's your legal advice? And they're like, I don't know. I'm a company lawyer. That's a totally different type of law. I don't know what you're talking about. So I can see getting hypochondriacs like Sheldon, even like though you're not even practicing that type of medicine or whatever it might be. But so I like that type of joking.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Allison. You sound awesome.
Yes. I also like that, like, all the people who are emailing us seem very intelligent. Like, we're not getting people who are like, yeah, I perform in the sideshow and I hate your podcast, but thanks for it, or something. I don't know. Like,
Well,
everybody's very
hopefully,
smart.
real haters won't take the time to email us and ruin and destroy our soul.
Yeah. Well, we're quitting now because
Yeah.
we got a bad email.
All right, next email is from Rick, our good friend Rick, who's sent us several emails. He's been a very good sport about things, and he actually has some clarification on our last IQ point from the previous episode about the color blue. So thanks for the insight on this. He says, "Hi, Rob and Ryan. I just listened to the latest episode. Thanks for the shout out, even though it makes me sound a little task mastery. I wanted to add to the discussion, in fact, a little input about the color blue and orange, etc. To understand why ancient civilizations didn't have a name for the color like blue, you have to delve into the soft sciences that Sheldon so despises, of sociology and a little psychology. What you need to understand is that those societies, Phoenicians, Egyptians, etc., were so heavily based on religion to rule them all. The mysteries of the world were answered by various gods, and those things were exceedingly common, were just simply taken for granted. The sky of blue, the blue of the ocean. The only time they would reference the sky or the ocean back then was just if it was different from the norm, if it was black from the storms or rolling or whatever. So they just never had a need for that name for a color. Now, the Greeks did have a name for blue, and that's because they were much more of a philosophical and thoughtful people than a religious one. Yeah, they had their gods, but they were mainly just stories and parables at the point of Plato and Aristotle. They learned to question the world around them a little bit more. And the blue of mystery was simply borrowed from the mystery of night once the color of blue was finally named. Whatever you read about why the magic 8 ball having blue because of blue not being a color, that's pure hogwash. It's always been a color, just not a named one. And digging even deeper, red, yellow, blue are primary colors of the additive color mode. Those are the pigments that you mix like tempera paints. The subtractive color mode are those of light, and those colors are magenta, yellow, and cyan. Additive starts from black, subtractive from white. It's a whole thing. Here's a good starting point. And then he gave us a link to an article called Color Theory, Additive and Subtractive Colors, the paper blog, which I will put in the show notes in case anybody is interested. And he finishes off by saying, I just wanted to throw that into the mix in case you were interested. Bye bye, Rick. So thanks, Rick. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, I had two things to say about that. I remember somebody asking one time, a few years ago, it wasn't even that long ago. I guess years are long, but somebody talking about like, what are the main colors? And I was like, magenta, yellow, and cyan. And everybody looked at me like, what the fuck are you talking about, Ryan? I'm like, those are the ones you put in your printer. Like, they're the main ones. And they're like, we don't know what Ryan's talking about. It's the red, yellow, and blue. I'm like, yeah, those are the primary, but why is it the printer takes the magenta, yellow, and cyan? So this kind of starts to explain that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little bit over my head, but I remember being friends with a painter one time who kind of started getting into this, and I'm like, I have no idea. My vision's bad. I can't see color very well. I can a little bit, but anyways, the other thing I was going to say is what he was saying about being religious and taking things for granted to some extent reminds me that, and I just looked this up, that the number 0, the lack of numbers, wasn't really, and I don't know, I looked up when was it invented, and the answer comes up around 3 BC. And you think about before that, you get nations and peoples who don't even have a concept of 0, that the base is just assumed and you start with 1. And that it took time and people thinking and philosophy to say, you know what, the base should be nothing, or what absolutely is or considered to be, before you start adding to it. And so I can kind of see that, why they would take it for assumption that the sky is blue, the sky is the sky, the ocean is the ocean, and you only talk about it if it's a different color or a changing color because you're adding something. I don't know. That's maybe not totally connected, but it's what made me think of it. Anything else to say on that one?
Nope. I'm just hearing my kid cry right now. So
again, about that contest.
Yeah, about that prize. All right, last email. Do you want to take this one from Joshua?
Sure, I'll take this one. Joshua, hey, Rob and Ryan. My name is Joshua from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a huge fan of The Big Bang Theory and just recently found your podcast and started listening. And I wanted to drop y'all a line to say how much I enjoy the podcast. I just finished listening to episode 5, The Hamburger Postulate. I love the IQ points and the research y'all do into the facts that the gang quotes. I've always wondered if the factoids and the complex equations on the boards are accurate. So listening to the deep dives and shallow dives that y'all do into these facts is very interesting. I get to relive some of my favorite episodes and learn some new facts in the process. Also, as a Hindu, I wanted to say that I'm very honored and grateful for the care and respect that y'all have shown to Raj in the Indian Hindu culture and religion. Anyway, I won't take up any more of your time. Please keep the podcast going. I love listening. Y'all are doing a great job. Take care. Sincerely, Joshua.
Thanks, Joshua.
Thank you. And I wanted to read that one very specifically because I was happy for the appreciation of the care we're taking with Raj, because I know I say a lot of offensive things sometimes, and I want to, like, if I ever say something offensive, I go, you know what, I try. I try. So hopefully it's maybe not a complete get out of jail free card, but I do try, and I appreciate that it's being shown that we do care. So
yeah, we really do, because we really appreciate all the different religions, and honestly, it's taking the time to learn about them too.
Yeah,
because otherwise, I don't really feel like I have too many opportunities to even research it or look into it. So I think it's a good opportunity.
I'm thinking like, I'm saying this right on the curtails of saying, Rob, give up your child. Like,
Well, if he has one more blowout.
But yeah, it's I do enjoy learning about them, and it gives us a great opportunity to educate ourselves more and talk about it. So yeah, but that was a cool email. I appreciate that, Joshua.
Well, thanks to all of our emailers. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
So keep on emailing. We'll give you shout outs. And don't forget to keep giving us 5-star reviews because there will be a raffle.
Someday, somehow.
And honestly, at this stage, there's actually a really good chance of winning because we have 23 total reviews in quote, but a lot of them are just like stars or just star ratings. So there's no way to track those people down. So we're only putting the people in the raffle with who actually wrote something. Because like then Spartacus. You could actually, yes. So the winner is Spartacus. Because otherwise we have no way of tracking you down. So you actually have to write something, just say something, just put in a letter, whatever, 5 stars, just put something on there. And right now there's only 11 written 5-star reviews. So then it's like, you actually have a pretty good chance of winning the prize at this stage.
That's a good chance. Yeah.
Yeah. So throw in your reviews.
And we'll get started on that.
Yep. And anything else on housekeeping? Otherwise, I kind of have a neighbor update. I finally have one.
I think I'm good on the housekeeping, and I want to hear about the neighbor.
All right. Any new listeners out there? Some true crime things happened in my world. Listen to the whole story on episode 22, which was our breakdown of season 2, episode 4, The Griffin Equivalency. But in just to sum it up, there was a God, why? It's not a murder. It's not a murder.
Well, he died, so yes.
So there was a fatality at the house next door, and now the woman is on trial for killing her boyfriend, which she is claiming for self-defense. It happened to my next door neighbor, and I finally found out a little bit more information. It took a lot of digging, but I was looking into the court dates because she was already arrested and has been in prison ever since that event. And she's been given no bail just because of the nature of the crime. She's claiming it was self-defense, but there's strong evidence against that. But I looked into it and I found out when her next court date is. So she is in pretrial right now, and her first court date, which is the call of the list, which is going to occur on August 28th. So she's going to be chilling in jail until the end of August.
That's not too bad. Some of these things go on for years, so they could be like, we're going to post it for August of 2025. Like, what?
It's crazy that she just has to hang out in jail, though, just until then. It's like, oh, that sucks. Granted, like, go back and listen to the whole story, just so I won't dive into it too much. But like, honestly, I am even though I was right next door, I'm still very in the dark with their situation.
And from what I remember, like, if you listen to this, it's not like she's a cold-blooded killer. He didn't seem like the nicest of people. He had like 8 warrants out for his arrest.
Yeah,
and so there's some background there. I'm curious how this is going to go down.
If anything, you should just listen to the beginning of episode 22 just to hear that story. But that's pretty much my only update. I literally just found this like 5 minutes before we connected, so I couldn't find it, so I couldn't read anymore. But so I'll have more of a more substantial update next time.
All right, so into the episode we go.
Into the episode.
All right, so we are on season 2, episode 13, The Friendship Algorithm. This aired January 19th, 2009, directed by Mark Zandrowski, writers Chuck Lorre, Bill Prady, and Stephen Milaro. Heads up, I liked this episode. I thought it was funny. It was Sheldon not being annoying, but being himself, and I could relate to that quite a bit. So I enjoyed it, and I thought it was pretty funny.
I really like this episode. I remember at the time it's not the website isn't around anymore, but I'm sure this shirt is still available on other websites. But I actually had a graphic tee of the friendship algorithm that I used to wear around.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Nice.
And that's how I made all my friends.
That's how you made me. It makes sense now.
He kept calling me and calling me. He was in an infinite loop.
Saying, no, I don't like that. What else do you like to do?
Do you like StarCraft? No. What about Diablo 1? No. What about Diablo 2? Okay.
All right. Yeah, we're
All
friends
right.
now. All right. So this episode starts off in the cafeteria, and they're talking about pudding. And Raj says the worst tapioca pudding is better than any of the other puddings. And for this, we actually bought some puddings that I feel like we need to bust out now.
Yeah, he gets into a big argument about chocolate versus tapioca. So we are going to be doing a pudding tasting right now. So if you don't like the sounds of eating, you should definitely skip this section. But if you're on YouTube, we actually we'll show it on camera. So here's the tapioca.
I didn't get tapioca. I don't know how I forgot to get the tapioca.
That was like the main conversation driver.
I screwed up. Oh, God. Man.
Okay, friendship over. Where in the algorithm does it say when to end this?
It says tapioca is that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, I also got chocolate, vanilla, which is my personal favorite, and butterscotch.
See, they don't say anything about butterscotch, but I feel like that is a staple pudding. And, I'm not a fan of the candy, but pudding-wise, I'm good on it. What else? The bananas and cream. I think we mentioned this last week that I'm a big fan of banana pudding. I don't know what it is, but banana pudding makes me happy. And then I actually did a joint pack, one with milk chocolate and one with milk chocolate and chocolate fudge. And so I'm going to try.
And you also said that you found some like unique flavors that I couldn't even dream about.
They had like a cinnamon bun flavor. But
you didn't want to try it?
It was like in a 6-pack, and I'm like, if it's like bad, I'm going to have 5 cups left over. And
wait,
I don't know.
So did you buy like a single pack or a single cup?
I did I was buying the 4-packs.
Okay.
And I'm like, I can deal with like 3, but if I have 5, those are going to sit around forever. I do like tapioca pudding, but the thing is, I like tapioca and I like rice pudding, and I have to say, I don't know if I have a preference between those two. They're kind of the same to me.
Well, rice pudding can be any flavor, though. It's not necessarily tapioca. You could infuse rice pudding with anything, I thought.
I thought it was only like vanilla. Like, I don't think I've
done
ever
lavender.
Had like... Oh.
I've done like cinnamon. Like you basically just cook rice in milk until it turns like really soft, and then you could really infuse it with anything that you want. So you could put a cocoa in it to make chocolate.
Huh. Well, couldn't you do that with tapioca? Because with tapioca, I mean, you can do like... I
feel like tapioca does have a specific flavor, though.
Oh, they're going straight... I thought they infused it with like vanilla a little bit.
I do. Mine does not have the ingredient statements on the box.
Because I mean, like with milk tea or boba tea, like you just mix it in with the flavor that you want.
Well, the tapioca is the pearls.
Yeah,
but then are you talking about the actual like tea itself, though?
I thought that the tapioca pudding was just like vanilla pudding with tapioca balls in it.
Wait, but it tastes so different though, so there must be some sort of infusion in it.
Huh.
I guess we'll taste them.
I guess I won't because I got fucked up and didn't get them.
Fine, you're such a disappointment. How did your parents not give you away at 8 months during a raffle? They
tried. They just weren't able
Nobody
to.
wanted you. All right, so how do you want to do this?
Let's start off with the butterscotch.
All right, so we're just trying them. So we are going to, even though we already know what flavors we like, let's just try them.
Yeah.
So if anybody doesn't like the sounds of eating, I'll put something in I'll let you know when to skip. I'll put something in right here. So skip to here. All right, everyone. If you want to avoid any eating sounds, go ahead and just skip to the 36-minute mark. All right. Well, we'll see how good my editing is.
And if you like the sounds of eating, just replay this part.
Yeah, over and over again. All right. Sorry for the plastic bag sound. It's my trash.
I didn't bring one in. I'm just gonna hoard these on my desk.
Yeah, I'm definitely not eating all 5 of these. Except pudding is my jam. But
I don't think I'd go with butterscotch, but if it came up and that was the dessert that we were having, I wouldn't complain.
Yeah, it's a very specific flavor that I feel like you have to be in the mood for.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a staple, and that's why I'm like really boring. That's why I like vanilla everything. Vanilla ice cream, vanilla pudding. Like, it's such a universal flavor that you could really have it at any occasion and any time.
That's fair. And it makes sense with rice, because rice can go with anything, and like you said, it can be infused with anything, and it doesn't have to be just vanilla, but it's a very basic, so if somebody does like rice pudding, that makes sense to me.
I ran out of spoons, so I have my Asian like soup spoon, and it's very hard to eat pudding out of this. If you're on YouTube, you're going to get quite a show.
I'm diving into the banana pudding.
All right, banana. All right, here's some ASMR. All right.
So is this all one flavor, or is the bottom?
Let's try the white part. It actually is still pretty banana-y.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're trying to just do cream, they kind of failed. It's like straight up banana.
I think it's all one flavor.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I don't think I would ever buy this, but I won't say no if it's in front of me.
I'll tell you what, it's big in the South with barbecue. After you have a bunch of barbecue ribs, and you get some banana pudding with like vanilla wafers in it, and they kind of like, it's almost like a dessert bread bowl. Oh.
So when I come visit and we pull out your smoker, I know we're making Rebecca's brisket. Rebecca, rest assured we will be making your brisket.
We're going to make it.
But should we also do some barbecue too? You got a nice smoker.
Yeah. We should.
So save me a cup of banana pudding then. It does have a long shelf life, so
that's true.
All right,
it's like we wait all that time and finally you dig into banana pudding and you're like, God, this is awful.
This pairs horribly.
What is wrong with you, Ryan?
All right, what's your next flavor?
Milk chocolate.
All right, that's probably just my chocolate then, because I didn't get milk. It was just chocolate.
Just chocolate.
More ASMR. You can call us ASMR puddins. The puddin' guys.
Puddin' guys.
Yeah, when I was a kid, chocolate was like, I was all about chocolate everything.
Solid. Now, what I've been wanting to do,
can't go wrong with chocolate,
is a scoop of the banana, and a scoop of the chocolate.
You madman!
You can't stop me. Gosh, that's good.
Chocolate's a winner. It's good. Love it. But vanilla is still my favorite, though. I have to crack open this vanilla, and I'll have to have tapioca at the very end since you don't have tapioca.
Instead of vanilla, I'm going with my chocolate fudge.
Well, let us know what you like more: the chocolate fudge or the chocolate or the milk chocolate. Vanilla is definitely my favorite.
Chocolate fudge seems a little bit thicker. It's got a thicker mouthful. Mouthfeel. There we go. And a little bit more chocolate taste. But I think it just depends on my mood. I kind of like it, but I could see myself going for the milk chocolate too. Now I'm going to mix the chocolate fudge with the banana.
All right. Tapioca time. Let's see if Raj is right. Tapioca versus chocolate.
Man, I always thought tapioca was flavored vanilla.
Well, spoiler alert, I did a deep dive on tapioca and if it's lethal or not.
I did too.
Nice.
But not if it was flavored vanilla. Damn, I missed it.
Missed opportunity. We should have done this tasting earlier.
I don't want to eat all of these, but I'm going to have another butterscotch.
Okay, I was like, is this still within the date? It says it's good until March 25th, 2024, but it's a little sour.
It's sour?
Okay, I'm not going to eat this.
Oh, no. Raj! Raj was wrong. IQ point, Raj. The worst tapioca pudding is the sour kind.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just a bad batch or just like it doesn't even taste familiar. It tastes very plain. Maybe it's a bad lot.
I don't remember them having much flavor, just kind of creamy.
It is a subtle like flavor. But
if it's sour, that's not right.
That's not good.
I've never had sour tapioca.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to throw those away. But I will have my vanilla with a little dash of chocolate. I oddly feel like the chocolate is a little too rich for me these days, and maybe that's why I don't like it as much. I still really like it, but it's almost like too rich. It's almost like at the end of a meal or at the end of the day, it's like, whoa, this is a little too. It's oddly a little too decadent.
That's yeah, chocolate pudding's kind of like getting up there with like chocolate mousse and just very, very sweet, and I think it's good, but hard to eat too much of it at once, or you start feeling kind of. Ooh.
And that's why like the vanilla is my favorite because like I said earlier, it goes with everything. It can go with every occasion, and it's like a subtle enough flavor that you're not gonna like. It's not gonna weigh you down at the end of a meal.
My desk looks crazy. I have like English textbooks. I have candles. I have a Wii U. I have 4 pudding cups.
You leave it long enough there, you're gonna get some ants.
Some ants. What ants? This is how you get ants.
That's
now to
why
wash
you
it
get
down
ants.
with beer.
I'm gonna wash mine out with gin.
Oh yeah. Also something that goes with everything.
Oh my god, I had like one of the best like gin drinks in Mexico. It was like a lavender like gin.
Oh, nice.
It was like for real. It was a lavender gin martini.
Ooh.
Super good. All right.
Shaken or stirred?
I didn't ask, but I definitely learned you don't shake a martini. You don't shake a martini. You're not supposed to, because the point of a martini is to get the purity of the gin or the vodka.
Oh.
But if you shake it, you're going to get ice shards, and it's going to dilute it.
That's fair.
So that's why, like, every time I get like a martini and you see like little ice particles, it kind of bums me out. So I actually did. In my old age, I get a little bit more particular about things as I order things. I used to be like super chill about like, just, I don't want to inconvenience anyone, whatever, just do whatever and everything. But now I'm like, fuck that. I'm paying for this.
I'm paying top dollar.
You need to make it the way I need to. So please stir that martini.
And I'll tell you what to stir it with, and you'll smile while you do it.
Yeah. I want it with that chicken wing. But all right, that was our tasting. So what is the verdict? I guess you didn't have tapioca, so you can't really say. But based off our experience with tapioca, the milk's gone bad.
The milk's gone bad. The worst tapioca was not better than any other flavor.
Oh my god, that was like, I've never had it like sour. Like, I hope I don't get sick tomorrow.
I like the look on your face like, that's not right.
Something's wrong. But all right. So I looked at this segues into our first IQ point.
Yep.
Now that we've tasted everything and we voted amongst ourselves, I found on ranker.com what is the best pudding flavor. In May of 2020, there were 1,600 voters, and they all voted what their favorite flavor of pudding is. And I wrote down the top 10. So, starting at number 10, tapioca. It's on the bottom. Sorry, Raj.
Raj.
Number 9, strawberry cream. Number 8, cheesecake. Number 7, it's your favorite, banana cream. Number 6, Oreo. Number 5, butterscotch. Number 4, chocolate fudge. Number 3, French vanilla. Number 2, chocolate. There you go, Sheldon. And number 1, vanilla.
What's the difference between French vanilla and vanilla?
French vanilla, I feel like, has more of a intense vanilla flavor, which is kind of weird that it's number 3. But I think it's only number 3 because I don't think it's available in most places. I've never seen a French vanilla pudding.
I've seen it in ice cream, and I know what you mean. That
it's much more intense of a flavor.
Yeah, and I typically like that more. I like the strong vanilla flavor. But,
yeah, I do too.
I've never seen French vanilla pudding.
Yeah, so I think that's why it's a little lower. So I feel like if it was more available, it'd be ranked a little higher.
That's fair.
But there you have it. Sheldon wins this round.
Sheldon wins.
Because chocolate is better than tapioca.
Especially if it's sour.
And a little follow-up. Last week I said that, or a couple weeks ago, I said that I would put out an Instagram poll for the best flavor. What does everyone think? And sorry, I'm a boomer. I kind of fucked that up. My Instagram story went away, and I didn't get the results.
It's gone now.
I'm sorry. I don't do the social media very well. But I did check it before it went away, and it was pretty even. It was actually it was 2 votes for chocolate, 1 for vanilla, and 1 for tapioca. So that's all we got.
That's all we got. We tried.
I'm sorry. But Ryan and I were talking before we actually started recording, and I'm actually going to create a monkey survey, or Survey Monkey. It's one of those, it's a free website. So I'm going to put I'll put the poll on a link on the show notes. So if you want to vote for what your favorite flavor is, go into our show notes and follow the link. And we will read those results next time. All right.
Monkey survey. What's your
All
favorite
right.
monkey? Sheldon would be in on that. He likes
He loves
monkeys.
monkeys.
Yeah.
All right.
So we are into. Okay. So they talk about the type of chocolate or type of pudding, and Sheldon's about to say something about tapioca, and he gets cut off because Howard discusses wanting to grow a mustache, and Sheldon starts twitching in the background, and finally they let him talk. And he goes on his spiel, the next IQ point of tapioca being poisonous.
Yeah. I actually wrote down the entire quote.
What's
You
the
want me to
quote?
start with that?
Yeah.
So when Sheldon is finally able to talk, he squeals out that tapioca is extracted from the root of the plant Manaho esculenta. Due to a high concentration of cyanide, it is poisonous in its raw form and lethal if prepared improperly. It's also indigenous to Brazil, as is the cocoa bean, which we get chocolate, the best pudding. So it sounds like Ryan and I both did an IQ point of, is tapioca really poisonous?
And how poisonous? Because, you can have some amount of poison.
Yeah,
Alcohol's
I'm sure
poison.
cyanide in small dosages is fine,
It's
right?
fun, right? No, it's not. Hi, so I got mine from todayifoundout.com, thespruceeats.com, and healthline.com. I looked at a couple different places for some kind of general information. And I'm glad I did this because the first thing I found out was that tapioca is a gluten-free starch from the Casanova plant root. And
Cassava, I thought.
cassava. Yeah, I
Yeah.
keep wanting to say Casanova, but
Yeah.
cassava. I don't have any ends in there. I just want to say it. Cassava root, and it's also known as the yucca tree or yucca plant. And this is kind of confusing because sometimes people put it with two A's, and there is a YUCCA plant that's not related. It is
Yucca.
Yeah, yucca.
I thought it was in the same family.
The YUCA is, but the YUCCA, I'm pretty sure, is not related.
Oh, that's confusing.
Right? Yeah. And the first place I looked up had it spelt wrong, and so I almost spelled it wrong.
Was there 3 C's?
There's 22 C's. They just kept putting them in there. It's like
and that was the wrong one.
Fell down on it. What is it? Yucca. Yeah. Yucca YUCA is a root vegetable, whereas YUCCA is a flowering plant. YUCA is pronounced Yoka.
I've been saying it wrong all these
YOOKA.
years.
But the YUCCA one is pronounced Yok. That's not confusing.
Yoka and Yoka.
Similar to South Asian plant, native Yoka. The two are unrelated, though the spelling is often interchanged. So technically they're different, which is weird, but that's a thing. And I'll never remember how to pronounce them again and make a fool of myself.
Well, the root vegetable I used to work with at the restaurants that I worked at. We used to do Yoka fries.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is very starchy and it is very like potato.
Yeah.
That it almost tastes like nothing. That's why you kind of have to season it with things.
So do you think that was the YUCA or YUCCA?
Well, YUCA, because I thought you said the YUCCA was a flower.
Yeah, it's like a flowering plant. So yeah. Interesting. All right, so
anyways,
back
to tapioca.
Back to Casanova.
Cassava. But you can say it as if you are a Casanova. Cassava.
It's popular as opposed to other gelifying agents because it can withstand freezing and still maintain its gel status. It does have something in it called linearin, which can convert to hydrocyanide, basically cyanide, when humans eat it. And so to prevent this, we peel it, and cook it or blanch it. There's different ways, and apparently there's a couple different types, and depending on the amount of cyanide, you might have to soak it in water longer. But it does have to do with the cooking process, which should happen in the manufacturing before it even comes to you for you to prepare at home. But there are other plants like this. It mentioned some seed-like plants, almonds, lima beans, I believe, or cashews. It didn't say that, but for some reason I was thinking that. All have to kind of be cooked, roasted before they are sent out to be consumed. And also stone fruits, and I'm thinking peaches. I once broke a seed open to a peach and tried the middle. I'm like, that's really bitter. And then I read that it's basically cyanide. So,
Oh my god.
yeah, you don't want to eat the seeds to certain fruits like peaches that they are. And then I read like you would probably need a lot of it for it to actually poison you, but it's still technically poisonous.
I wouldn't have even thought about that, but now that you mention it, when you crack open the seed, there actually is like a white part.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
the bad stuff.
Don't eat that.
Don't eat that. Yeah, I can say from experience.
Here's your learning lesson of the day. Don't eat what's inside the peach seed. And don't eat sour tapioca.
Sour tapioca and peach seeds. That's the IQ point for today. Thanks for joining.
And knowing is half the battle.
All right, what do you have to add? That was my spiel.
Yeah, I pretty much found the exact same things. I found it on thoroughlynourishedlife.com and cassavaprocess.com. So what you said about the root itself is true. But I also wanted to know about how that root turns into tapioca. Because that was the thing, was like, whoa, how does it turn into tapioca?
Well, that's magic, Rob.
Yeah, you just wave Expelliarmus.
And then you get tapioca pearls. Yay!
Yeah, in different sizes. But I wanted to know about like the processing and how you make it less poisonous, or pretty much poisonless.
Poisonless.
And you mentioned it. It needs to be peeled. It needs to be boiled. All this stuff rids the root of the linamarin, which is the toxic property of it. You could also ferment it. You could starch extraction, and then steaming, baking, frying. But how you create the tapioca is through starch extraction. It involves wet milling of the washed cassava root, followed by washing of the starch from the fibrous mass using vibrating screens, and then the starch is sedimented in the settling tanks and then sun-dried.
Oh.
And that's how you get tapioca. So it's quite a long process, but...
How do you think people figured this out? They're like, okay, well, a number of us died trying this out, but we figured out if we cook it, we don't die. All right, so...
that's the funny part, is like, once you get poisoned the first time, you'd think that they would just stay away from it like, all the time. I'm sure it must have been like different groups that have always cooked. I'm sure, like, total theory on this, I'm guessing that there were certain like primitive groups that tried it raw and got sick.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was other clans out there that ended up just cooking it. And when they met, they're like, don't eat that. That's poisonous. And there are other clans like, what are you talking about? If we cook it all the time and we don't get sick. And then it probably just clicked in.
Cook it. Wow.
Whoa. Total speculation, but I'm guessing that's what happened.
I'm hoping it happened just like that too.
Yeah.
Don't cook. Don't eat that.
The hominid was like, bro, what you doing there? And the other one's like, bro, you just gotta cook that shit.
We've been eating this for years.
Yeah.
Just cook it. Why the hell would you eat it raw? That's the dumbest thing we've ever heard. Okay,
But,
so
yeah, that's it.
That's the IQ point. Now we have Kripke. He is joining us again from last episode, and he's passing by making fun of Leonard, saying that he has had 20,000 negative results in his test. And Raj says that's they are still results. And I like that line a lot coming from Raj, because he's absolutely right that if you, I think in the writing field, how many rejections writers get, and the notion is a rejection's better than nothing at all because it shows you're trying and it shows you're putting effort in, and it's a step ahead of getting nothing or doing nothing. And like even Stephen King had, he's like infamous for like tacking all of his rejection letters up on the wall in front of his typewriter, so as a determination to keep going. So I agree that there at least still results.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, a negative result is still a result. Just because you didn't get the answer that you wanted, maybe the negative result is the answer that you're getting.
I was reminded of, I read some blog or something. It was like a list of stories of PhD students or candidates who had their doctrines disproven during research, and how heartbreaking it is. And it's like, at least you still did the research, like you still have, but like basically what they went out to prove, they disproved and showed that they were wrong. And they're like, yeah, I screwed, like but at the same time, they proved something, so that's that.
Yeah.
Right? And then Kripke, they call him a knob and explain that that's why he's eating alone instead of with them at the cool table. And Raj says, for shizzle. And I laughed at that.
Yeah. They think that they're cooler than cool.
Well, they're cooler than Kripke. I'm gonna throw it out there.
Facts. I totally agree with that. I even wrote in my notes like, "Welcome back, Kripke." I guess.
Dun, dun.
He's a good antagonist, but I think that's what makes him unlikable is because he's such a good antagonist.
Yeah. And I like some of his interests. It's going to come up, rock climbing. That I love rock climbing, but he's gross. He's
not a good person.
Yeah. And then Sheldon says Kripke lacks their social skills, and it comes up that Kripke controls the open science grid computer, and if he wants to run it, he's going to have to be friends with him. He needs to do it for to run structures of, what is it?
Did you lose your notes?
No, it says Mations. I don't know what Mations. But he was trying to figure out how the universe started, kind of, right? And he needs this supercomputer, and we did a discussion.
We did an IQ point on that.
When was that?
On the open science grid.
Yeah. It's basically a shared computer between huge networks that kind of work together, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what I wrote there. Mations for structure formations.
You got to get with the times, man. I know you like your notebooks, so maybe you should start typing it out.
Never. You can't make me. Maybe someday. And so, since only friends can use it, Sheldon says, "I will befriend him." That's the easiest way to do this. And basically goes up to Kripke and says, "Hey, would you like to be friends?" And Kripke says, "No." It's just like flat out, no.
It's very elementary school. I remember like going up to someone and saying, "Hey, let's be friends."
I don't think I ever did that, but I remember like preschool, like the first day of preschool, going in and sitting down, and I remember this. I don't know why I remember this so much. Maybe if I had made a different choice, my life would be different. But there was a girl on one side of me at the table and a guy on the other side. And they both asked me to be their friends and basically said that I could only choose one. And I picked the guy. And I feel like
life could have been so different.
Life could have been completely different.
You butterfly affected that.
Yeah. I just wonder what could have happened. I don't think
we might not even be friends. We might not even be. We might not even have a podcast. So, do you still keep in touch with that friend?
No, I haven't talked to him in years.
Do you even know who it is? Do you even remember who it is?
I forget his last name, but his first name was Alex.
Alex, if you know Ryan, you should DM us.
Yeah, let us know. How's your life going? And did things go completely weird since we became friends at that table all those years ago?
Did he regret not asking the girl? Kids are so funny. Like they don't realize that they can have multiple friends. They don't know how to like compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Or they're compartmentalizing too much.
And they think that they have to have one best friend and that's all that really matters. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
No.
So that's the intro, and we see the credits, and it comes into the apartment, and Leonard is helping Penny with her email to send all of Howard's emails to spam. And she goes that what really bothered her was his vacation pics with him in a bathing suit. And Leonard says that was not a bathing suit, that was a tan line. And she kind of gags.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder, like, was he just like in his birthday suit? Was he naked and like the tan lines were just that? Or was it like just the top part of him and it looked like a.
I have a feeling it was just the top part.
Just top part?
Yeah.
I feel like that makes more sense. I feel like if it was all of him, she would have been able to tell, but.
And then that's like friendship ending right there.
Yeah, like what?
Don't send me your dick pic.
But if the tan makes it look like a bathing suit, how would you ever know?
It just blends in.
It just blends in. It's probably not a good thing, but whatever. So, Sheldon is on the phone leaving a message for Kripke to follow up on their friendship. And we get to the part about Chef's salads, right? And that, I missed part of this, but
he calls out Barry on the phone and says that I noticed you ordered a chef salad. I guess you didn't know that is kitchen trickery to utilize scrap meat.
That's the quote, kitchen trickery to use scrap meat. And I was going to do an IQ point here, but I'm like, Rob's going to do this much better than me.
How'd you know that?
I know you, Rob.
You know me. Where in the friendship algorithm shows that? You know me. Well, I did. So as everyone knows, I love food. I'm in the food industry. And if I could turn this into a food podcast, I most definitely will. So next IQ point is the chef salad kitchen trickery. And I found this amongst multiple websites, tastingtable.com, wikipedia.com, and quaintcooking.com. And I also looked into the history. So to understand if this is kitchen trickery, we had to look into the history of what a chef salad is and where it came from. So it's hard to pinpoint its exact creation in history, since meats and hard-boiled eggs have been placed on salads since the early 17th century in England and France. So it's been around for a really long time. So this style of salad, been around forever. But at the time, it was called the salamungi salad. It was more or less the same ingredients as what we know as the chef salads today. Cubes of ham, chicken, hard-boiled eggs, anchovies, celery, and pickles, and on a bed of greens. However, it was popularized in America in the 30s and 40s and became mainstream when Chef Louis Diet of the New York City Ritz-Carlton included it in his cookbook in 1941. But there's a conflicting argument that it was actually created earlier by Victor Seydoux from the Hotel Buffalo. And to make things even more cloudy, the chef salad was mentioned in an article even before this.
Oh.
In the April 24th, 1939 issue of the St. Petersburg Times, the author gave a Mrs. John David Harris credit for bringing the salad from the Swank Sun and Surf Club in Palm Beach. So did it come from California or did it come from New York? And what was it around since 1939? Was it around from 1941? But at the same time, was this already an existing salad?
It's the old East Coast, West Coast argument.
Yep. But either way, the question is the chef salad really kitchen trickery to utilize scrap meats? And the answer is more or less yes.
Ooh.
But nowadays, I'd say no. And I'll explain why later. But compiling all the information from all the articles I read, none specifically called it, in quote, kitchen trickery. But descriptions of the ingredients were vague enough to include julienne cuts of meat and cheeses, and customizations are limitless. So yes, I'm sure this was created with the ingredients the chefs had on hand, but these days, a chef salad is synonymous with cubed turkey, ham, cheddar, and Swiss, over greens with hard-boiled eggs. So even though there's no true naming convention, I looked it up on USDA. When we think of the chef's salad, this is what we think. So as of now, I'd say most places are required to carry these main ingredients to create the chef's salad because it's such a mainstream thing. But I wouldn't really say it's kitchen trickery anymore. Possibly back in the day because they always had chicken, they always had eggs. So it's like, hey, let's just throw all these into a salad. But nowadays it's like, well, we have to have a chef salad on the menu. So I have to buy ham. I have to buy turkey. We have to buy cubes of this.
And that reminds me that somewhere I heard that whenever you see like a chef special or a special of the day, that it's because the restaurant is trying to get rid of food. It's usually old stuff or bad stuff that they don't want anymore. And I remember getting made fun of by some friends because I'm like, what would you recommend? The special, which is like the fish tacos, or the brat, which is a staple on your menu? And everybody's like, you go with the special. I'm like, but the special is sometimes like stuff that's basically rancid already, and I don't want to do that if that's all it is. So
I would say my experience in the restaurant industry, it's a little 50-50. There are a lot of ingredients that need to be utilized, so they incorporate it in. But there have been many occasions where we'll just say, hey, we need a special. Hey, so-and-so, you want to make something? We'll place an order. We'll tack on other ingredients, but let's just do something. It's more of an LTO, a limited time offering. So it's a little bit of both.
A little bit of column A, a little column B. I ended up going with the fish tacos, and I enjoyed them, but
okay, didn't taste sour.
Nah, a little.
It's probably because of the lime juice. So.
Oh yes,
there's a reason for it.
It was supposed to, and the tapioca they put on it.
Yeah, this tapioca topping was delicious. A little crunchy and sour, but it was delicious.
It was very special.
Well, that's what I had on the chef salad.
I like that. I like that finding that they stock those ingredients now and they have them specifically for that salad, so it's not just the leftover cuts of meat. Although in a cafeteria like that, I imagine everything in there is leftover cuts and scraps. So they're really not just a salad.
A unit. Well, I will say I remember some of the best food that I ever had was on UW campus. Like their cafeterias were fucking solid.
When I was in Japan at the University of Sapporo, their cafeterias had amazing food. I was like, their udon and tempura, which is like top notch. Which I can't say when I was at Penn State. Like I felt like their food was overpriced and nothing to really write home about. Like I was just like, So. Leonard tells Penny that Sheldon's trying to make a new friend and thinks that it won't happen. Penny asks she basically says, well, how did you all become friends, right? Because he must have made friends before. And Leonard says that he picked up a flyer for a roommate saying whistlers need not apply. And he thought it was a joke at first, but apparently he still can't whistle. And this is kind of like the B track, the side plot of the episode of whistling. And apparently every time Sheldon's gone, Leonard takes it upon himself to whistle while he can. So and she asks, what about Howard and Raj? And he's like, I don't know. And he says that how do carbon atoms form a benzene ring? Proximity and valence electrons. And I did a little IQ point on this. Did you do anything?
I did not.
So, nothing too big, but I didn't really know what a benzene ring was. But apparently, and this is from Wikipedia, it is an aromatic ring, which apparently has nothing to do with smell. It's an older form of the word that I didn't really understand the etymology for. But it's a ring of atoms, and basically a carbon atom has 4 electrons that it can use, and on one side it has 2 electrons with another carbon, On one side, it has one electron with one carbon, and then on a third side, it has one electron with a hydrogen. And it kind of maps out a circle, a ring, like a uniform ring that's supposed to be very stable. And it's kind of pretty to look at, I guess, but it's common in petroleum products. It's, from what I read, the smell in gasoline. It's very flammable, but it's also, yeah, considered a very common form molecule, I guess. And yeah, so my thought is that there's a lot of carbon and hydrogen atoms out there, and they're, if you put them into a room together, they're probably going to start connecting because they have these extra electrons, and things end up forming, you know, just because they're in the same proximity, the same area. So with the friend group, I'm taking it to mean that if you put a bunch of people who have the same interests together and they're looking for friends, eventually they will find each other and attach after some time. Now, that has nothing to do with the petroleum or being flammable, but the rest of it makes sense. So he mentions that he does miss whistling, and he gives it a short whistle, and Sheldon turns and says, "That's your first warning." So I don't know what's up with Sheldon whistling, but he hates it.
Yeah, it must be something with the frequency or something that kind of bothers his ears, or I don't know.
It's just no good. We go to Penny's apartment, and Sheldon is knocking his famous knock, 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 Penny, knock, 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 Penny. And she opens the door, and he gives her a script of questions. It's a questionnaire because he is doing research on why his current friends like him, to help him improve or figure out how to make a new friend with Kirky. And there's 211 questions on this. They are written in a high school reading level so that she can understand them. And
Burn on Penny.
She's not very happy about that, but asks if she's asked if he's ever tried to be more pleasant, and he suggests that should be the topic for her essay. That made me laugh, that the last page is for an essay, and apparently the other ones actually do essays. So next scene, they're in their apartment, Sheldon and Leonard. And I like in my notes, I call Sheldon Shelley all the time now. I don't know why. Shelley criticizes Leonard's question scheme because he has written it in a pattern: ABBAC, ABBAC. And he says, I don't even like your essay, which was called "Better Luck." You'll have better luck making friends when the Cylons take over. I keep
Battlestar Galactica.
Yes. Did you do IQ on this at all? I know we've
Cylons.
Yeah.
Oh no,
I didn't know what they were.
Oh well, I just knew that they were from Battlestar Galactica, so I just kind of skipped over it.
And it took me a while because I keep wanting to say, kind of like I want to say Casanova with Cassava, I want to say Cyclones with Cylons. But yeah, I didn't know what they. Well, once I did some research, I knew what they were, but from the start, I didn't. But they are from Battlestar Galactica. They are a robot race at war with humanity. Apparently, and this kind of made me interested in this, they were created by a reptilian race, also called Cylons, but this reptilian race died out before the show started. And so it's kind of interesting that they're a robot race that exists after the race that created them. But what I noticed them from is, I think I've mentioned before that I do have a box set of the rebooted Battlestar Galactica, and the robot face is on the box. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. I didn't know what that robot face was.
That's right. It was a series in like the 60s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then it ended, and then it rebooted
in like early 2000s.
I feel like that's the more mainstream one because it's more recent.
Kind of like Doctor Who, where most people talk about the new ones as opposed to. Although people say the old ones are great too, it's just that
I don't think you can find them anywhere. Can you? Because like Netflix has like the new one. At least it did when I was watching it. I don't
Maybe
know if
like
it still has it.
BritBox, the British channel app or whatever. I don't know.
Probably.
Interesting. I remember I subscribed to BritBox over the holidays because there was they had like a horror show from like the 60s, and it had a story that I wanted to watch. I can't remember what it was, who it was by, but it was like a Christmas horror story. And it was definitely something from the 60s. And I'm like, wow, I'm not watching it anymore. So, but I
It can be
tried.
pretty trippy. I still remember that the first couple episodes of Star Trek. It's like, holy shit!
Holy shit!
Like, what is happening right now?
This got made. That's something.
Well, I was going to say, as you mentioned, Doctor Who. If you ever get around to watching Community, they have a great like parody of Doctor Who, Inspector Spacetime.
Oh, nice. Have you watched
rad.
Doctor Who at all, or?
I watched like the first season of the new one, and it just kind of fizzled out because I'm not super into like monster of the week kind of thing. I like continuous things. So like whenever it's like a monster of the week, it's like I kind of just lose interest because it's the same formula over and over again.
Yeah.
They run into a problem. They have to think about the problem. They solve the problem. Moving on to the next storyline. It's like, it's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like, it gets a little old. So I know there's an overarching story, but it just takes some time to get into. So I just didn't give it the opportunity.
That's kind of like Buffy and Angel, right? Where they're monster of the week, but they have but I watch it because of the overall story, the weekly thing. Like I get bored with it too.
Yeah.
And even frustrated when they don't touch at all on the overall story. It's like, wow, I just spent an hour and didn't even mention what was going on with the romance.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's a little different when it's like kind of like a drama action adventure. Like doing it with a sitcom when it's like short and sweet, that's fine. But then when it's like a long like investment, 45 minutes, it's like,
especially when it's
challenging.
24 episodes per season. That's 24 hours. That's for one season. That adds up. If it's like 10 episodes per season, and they're hour long, I'm like, okay, that's kind of manageable. But yeah. Okay, so that was the IQ point about Cylons. And Leonard seems kind of sad about this, that he put real work into the essay and Sheldon's not even giving it the time of day. And they mention how Howard drew a raccoon with a distended scrotum. And I did an IQ point on this because I don't think that was a raccoon. They didn't show a picture, but there was I have reasoning, I have beliefs for this. So the reason for this is what's called the Tanuki. Do you know what a Tanuki is?
I know. Is it not the Mario thing where he just wears a raccoon suit?
It's a raccoon suit, but technically a Tanuki is a creature that lives in Japan that's called a raccoon dog, which is weird because it's not a dog and it's not a raccoon, but it kind of looks like a mix between a raccoon and a dog.
Is it it's a real animal?
It's a real animal.
I'm Googling this now.
And these raccoon dogs are famous in Japanese mythology for having huge testicles.
Oh my god, it's totally a raccoon dog.
It's a raccoon dog.
Aw, they're so cute. They're way cuter than a raccoon. It definitely has more of a dog face. It's a longer nose or a longer mouth.
And it's so weird because people are like, well, what animal is it? And it's like, it's a Tanuki. It's a raccoon dog. It's its own animal.
This is so cute. Oh my god.
But now Google Tanuki testicles.
Oh god.
Because you got to do it. You got to do it.
Oh, the things I do for the podcast. What? Look at this art.
This is like ancient art. Art.
This is the ancient Japanese art of a Tanuki with huge scrotum.
And they like beat people up with the scrotum. They use them as like pillows, as sleeping bags. They use them as boats.
Oh my god!
There
All
was
right, I'm gonna put a picture right on YouTube right here. Enjoy.
Studio Ghibli did a movie called Ponpoko, I believe it was called. Um,
Oh my god! There's a Japanese mascot, and the mascot has the giant testicle.
Yeah, Pompoko. So it's like a kids' cartoon, and the Tanukis use their scrotums as like it looks like parachutes, and that's kind of how I learned about them. But my understanding behind this is, and I found this at TokyoWeekender.com, is that Tanukis are one of three Japanese trickster gods: cats, foxes, and Tanukis. And I knew foxes were because there's a whole thing about you never want to see foxes get married, or if foxes are getting married. It's a saying for like when it's raining when the sun's out, and there's like a whole mythology behind that. I've also heard that, and you don't quote me on this because I don't know exactly why or where it came from, but in Japanese, when you answer the phone, you say mushi mushi. And I've heard that's because technically foxes can't say those words. And so you know you're talking to a human being if they're able to pick up the phone and say that. If they can't say that, you might be talking to a fox pretending to be a human.
Well, what does the fox say? If anybody doesn't know what that means, YouTube, what does the fox say?
Yeah.
You will love it.
I was at some concert. Oh, I told you Rob Schneider's daughter.
El King.
Yeah, I was at the Al King concert, and I was waiting in line for the bathroom or something, and some drunk women were coming up to me, and she's like, "Oh, it's like the fox. What does the fox say?" And her friends like looked at her, and I go, and they looked at me, and she's like, "This guy gets it."
Oh man, I love that so much. I still say that to my wife every once in a while, just kind of like just walk up to her. What did the fox say?
So we get that the Tanukis are tricksters, and apparently they try to pretend to be humans so that they can sneak into bars and get drunk, and into brothels for escapades. And there is a theory there. We don't know exactly why Tanukis are associated with huge scrotums and balls, but we get this notion that the slang word for testicles, for balls, is kintama, which also means gold, or gold balls, or gold jewels. And you can think of it as in English how we say the family jewels, kind of like the precious bits on the human body. And so because the slang word has come to mean testicles and gold, its testicles have become a thing of luck, of rich, of pride. It's not too dissimilar than Western culture.
If you can't see us, I just checked out my own family.
My
jewels.
family jewels.
Like, oh, look at that.
And somewhere it was said that this might also connect because there were people who would hammer gold into thin sheets, and they would do it by putting it between layers of Tanuki hides, Tanuki skins. And because the hide was tough, they were able to hammer out the gold and not damage it or whatever. And the connection between the gold and being inside the Tanuki skin got connected more with tough hides being stretched, being used for different things, and filled with gold and luck and good things. And so now we get all these Japanese mythologies and art with these raccoon dogs with big testicles. And so that is my argument for why I'm guessing Howard did not draw just a raccoon with a huge scrotum. I think he's probably taking Japanese mythology and doing a Tanuki.
Which that makes sense because based off his decor in his bedroom, there's a lot of anime stuff on there.
Right? I was thinking that too.
This is a deep cut. I
I should probably just go ahead and give myself a point for being like Howard here.
Yeah.
1 point. 2.13. Knowing Tanukis have big balls. All right, yeah. Raccoon dogs. Okay, so that was the deep dive there. And we get all right, so moving on from the scrotums. Leonard says that this is more of an intellectual exercise, and I agree with him that the questionnaire, that's something more of like psychology, humanities based focus, which Leonard or Sheldon doesn't really like. So it's kind of interesting that he's going with this. And it comes up that Sheldon tends to learn by trying to do things scientifically, even if it's not a scientific process. And they bring up swimming, that he learned to swim by reading it on the internet, watching videos, and swimming on the floor instead of actually getting into water. And I'm going to give myself a point for being like Sheldon here, because
that you use videos for technical skills.
Videos and books. Like before I started brewing, I watched hours and hours of videos and read books and books before I went in and said, okay, I can actually try this now. Like, I guess he never tried swimming, but I take a lot of time beforehand, trying to figure out how to do things.
I guess with Sheldon, though, is that he has no interest in getting in the water, so I don't know if he'll ever practice it, though. He'll just have to, when the time comes, he'll just have to rely on his knowledge that he read and watched.
That's true. But, yeah. You know, I think of the electrical work I did, or I've done, I just learned how to do it. And, like, I've done a couple electrical things, and then...
Shock yourself a few times, but you know what? It's a learning experience.
Yeah. I was strapped to a chair. It was fine. But yeah, I mean, he even brings up like learning how to rock climb through videos, and you know, I rock climb, but I have to say that I watched videos, so many videos, especially for outdoor climbing, and read books about it before I tried it. Indoor climbing, I actually got thrown into, but outdoor climbing, I did not feel comfortable until I actually did a lot of research beforehand, instead of just going out there and having somebody show me or do it by practice or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I did. That looks fun. Let's try it.
I need 30 hours of video or I'm not going to do it. Maybe not 30 hours, but... And you find some really cool things. I forgot how, but I know that there's a way to like use a rope to make a harness. So you don't even need to buy a harness. If you have enough rope, you can make like a harness out of the rope. Mm-hmm. Okay, so...
Well, I did an IQ point on Sheldon's new technical skill.
The swimming.
Because the swimming part. So, well, kind of. Because he says... As he and Leonard talk about him learning how to swim, and Sheldon says that the ice caps are melting, soon swimming won't be optional.
That made me laugh.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny. But then I know where he got this from. I'm guessing he got this from Waterworld. So if anybody doesn't know that was a movie where it's a movie starring Kevin Costner. It's a film where in the future, all sea ice and icebergs and polar ice caps melt due to global warming. The rising sea level rises above all of land. And in the film, the only remaining land is at the tippy top of Mount Everest.
It's kind of like a Mad Max, but with water.
I wrote that. That's exactly what I wrote down. The movie is essentially Mad Max in the ocean. So it's critically hated, but I fucking loved it. I thought it was dope. But I did an IQ point on this because in Sheldon's mind, it's gonna happen. So it's like, well, can this actually happen? So can Waterworld actually happen? And I found this on filmschoolrejects.com, which was a blog post, so I couldn't take it that serious, but I also found it on metro.co.uk. So, short answer is no.
No.
I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off and say no.
No.
This Waterworld will never happen.
Aww. Why'd we learn to swim?
I know. So Sheldon, you don't need to learn how to swim. If anything, you know how to survive in a desolate wasteland. I guess if you want, well, I'll get into it. So, in the event that all icebergs, caps, and sea ice were to melt, it would raise the sea level approximately only 61 meters. And for all the Americans out there, it's 200 feet. So, sure, this would cover coastal cities, but the entire planet would not be covered in water. But if this was to happen, it would have huge negative impact to us. Humans would be more or less fucked. Theorists show that if sea levels rose by merely 2 meters, it would be catastrophic. This would be the melting of Greenland, West Antarctic, and East Antarctic ice sheets. That is enough to increase the sea level by 2 meters. That's gonna happen between now and 2100.
Oh crap!
It's very slow though, so we got like
it's our kids who have to worry about
years.
it.
Yeah,
take that, Hunter.
Wait. Yeah, Hunter would probably still be alive at that point. Yeah. This would result in the loss of 1.79 million kilometers squared of land, including critical regions of food production and the displacement of approximately 187 million people. And this would spark wars over land and food, not to mention the effects of the rising temperatures that would have on the weather, which is the creation of storms and hurricanes. And going a step further, if the sea levels ever hit 10 meters, things would become apocalyptic. It jumps to 627 million people being displaced.
Whoa.
So ultimately, Water World will never happen, but in the event that this happens, Sheldon, you don't need to learn how to swim. You need to learn how to survive the apocalypse. Survive war and famine. That is, unless he wants to live as a nomadic sea person away from the chaos, then sure, learn how to swim.
That might be safer.
It would be safer than being on land where it'll just be it'll be Walking Dead without the zombies.
It's like Cormac McCarthy, may he rest in peace, he just passed away, The Road.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Very haunting moments in that movie.
I bet they weren't dealing with that if they were out at sea swimming. Probably.
Well, that's my IQ point on Waterworld. So Sheldon, you're good.
You don't have to swim, but maybe those rock climbing abilities come in handy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
All right, so hey, Leonard says, just go out there and talk to people. And they say, that's insane. I like that. But they end up going out. They go to a bookstore to pick up a book about talking to people and meeting people. And I doubled down on that point that, yeah, that's me. I go to bookstores and say, how can I, find a book about, I don't know, meeting women or making friends or
the pickup artist. Hello.
Yeah, talk about the game. How to interview correctly, how to do this or that.
I don't know. I've read a lot of that stuff. It's been helpful.
Yeah, I mean, people do it.
That's how I suckered you to be my friend.
That's true. How did I get into this?
Idiot.
Shit. Sheldon talks. I like he strikes up a conversation with a lady who's reading a book, and it's actually a very earnest conversation, saying, "I'm sorry for your loss," because it's a book on grieving and dealing with death, and it eventually leads into the way of him saying, was it a friend or family member? And she's like, family member. And he goes, if it was a friend, I could have taken their place. I could have filled that void for you. And she just gets up and walks away. And so he goes up to the not the manager, but the cashier, and says, "Do they have any books on making friends?" And the book guy says they do, but they're for skills. They're for kids learning those skills. And Sheldon says, "Well, we can just go ahead and extrapolate those skills into what I need them for." And the guy says that they're over by the train set. And Sheldon says, "Oh, I love trains." And I get a point because, well, we've already established that I love trains, but I also love toys. So, love toys.
Yep.
And I actually, I consider this part of it because he goes up and immediately touches the toy train.
It's like, ew, sticky.
Ew, sticky. I can see myself saying that. Ew, it's sticky. So all of that goes very well with. I'm guessing somebody's probably called me Sheldon from doing something exactly like that. I don't get why you don't like trains. I fucking love them.
I guess I don't know. Like, I don't know. I have nothing to say.
they're magical.
I just don't find them fascinating at all.
So, like, when you watch the Polar Express, you don't get like excited and like whimsy and.
I've never watched the Polar
Express. God damn!
Why are we friends?
But you've read the book, right? Oh, Rob, you're killing me.
Yeah, my Christmas hit list is very different. It's Elf, Nightmare Before Christmas, and Home Alone.
I can see those. I'm not a huge fan of the movie Polar Express. I feel like it was released in the days of 3D cinema, and it was very, very, what's that word? Gimmicky. And for something that I feel so emotional about, throwing gimmicks in really bothered me. But the book is beautiful, and I love it. So I do.
Is it like a children's novel, or is
it's a picture book?
Oh, so it would be good for Hunter then.
I would say so. Yeah, there's not too much writing in it, but it's
okay.
Beautiful pictures. Every page is like a beautiful artwork.
You know what? I'm gonna order it right now.
Good call,
you know what, Ryan. For you, I'll order this right now.
On the next podcast, you're going to be wearing like a train conductor hood hat, like have a whistle.
Trains are fucking awesome! Oh my god, what have I been missing out?
How did I not know?
Or I'll be like, Ryan, you suck.
You suck. Podcast over. Click. Choo choo, Ryan.
All right, the Polar Express hardcover.
Halfway to Christmas.
And ordered. Cool.
Nice. I read your book, Ryan. It sucks.
It sucks and you suck.
Damn. Okay, so Sheldon picks up a book about bullies, and he says, "Already read it. Not helpful." But he finds a book called about a cockatoo. Cockatoo?
Stu the cockatoo, who's new at the zoo.
New at the zoo. And he's like, "That's right up my alley." And he sits down by a little girl who's reading a book at a little table, and she says she's scared of birds. And Sheldon agrees. He says most people don't see it. And
I see it. Birds are pretty scary. Like, they could do some damage to you.
They are...
They're majestic and beautiful, yes, but they're very scary at the same time. And they're disease-ridden.
That's true, yeah. And going with, different birds, different behaviors. Crows, I think, are just unbelievably intelligent. They know how to use tools. They have, like, court trials. Like, if one crow is bad, they, like, circle around it and find it guilty and then peck it to death or something. I don't know.
They remember faces too.
They remember faces.
Studies have shown that they remember human faces.
That's insane. So I'm scared of crows, but I respect them. Chickens I don't respect. I think chickens and roosters are horrible things, and I do not feel any guilt in killing them or eating them. I do believe if chickens were the size of a dinosaur, like let's say 8 feet tall, they would eat us without second thought.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they seem vicious.
very vicious, and they're mean to each other too. Have you ever seen like three chickens in a room together? They peck each other naked just so
Oh
that
my
they can
god.
laugh at each other.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Gross.
it's they are mean creatures. I've never seen one be nice. So yeah, I agree. Birds can be creepy. So he asks her if she wants to go, or if she wants to go see monkeys together sometime. And that's when Leonard comes in. This is a great scene coming in. It's like, what are you doing? He says, I've made a new friend. No, no, you're not. Let's go.
Don't look at the camera.
Don't look at the camera. What are you doing?
Stop now. Stop. Well, I also looked into if Stu the Cockatoo, who's new at the zoo, is a real book.
Oh, yeah.
And I honestly could not find it. I don't think it's a real book. I Google searched it like crazy. I hopped on Amazon. I even looked up the author that they said by Sarah Carpenter.
Yeah, nothing.
I looked it up. I actually found a Sarah Carpenter that actually that is an author. And in her catalog of books, this wasn't one of them. So I don't think it's just such a missed opportunity. It's like this, the title in itself is gold.
Uh-huh.
And the topic itself is like, why is this not a real book?
Although the author's bio, I didn't write it down, but I made a mental note. It says that she lives with her husband and her friend and their cockatoo. And it kind of made it sound like she was kind of polyamorous. What's the word? Polyamorous? Like, for some reason, say
her husband and her friend.
and her friend. Like, oh, that's a weird thing to throw in there for a kid's book, but okay. Saying her cockatoo named Stu, like that made sense, but like, and her friend, like, okay. Though maybe she was just really good at making friends. I don't know.
Very good. That's why she wrote a book about
it. She lives with them, writes books about them. Good for her. But I am kind of surprised that it's not a real book. Or that there is a writer named Carpenter that has not written this book.
Yeah, I mean, she's written books about children and like the psychology of children, but not a lot of children's books.
Interesting.
So I wonder if it's just a coincidence that they chose that name and that author.
I bet it's a coincidence, but I'm curious now too. But yeah, golden opportunity on that. So we are back in the apartment, and they're talking. Raj brings up what was Sheldon's favorite amino acid, and that he got this wrong because apparently the favorite amino acid was lysine. And he goes, man, I had that and I changed it. And I did a little dive into lysine because I knew a little bit about it. Do you know anything about it?
I know nothing.
That's
enlighten me.
Do you have herpes?
No.
Oh, okay then.
And I don't have it, and I'm proud of that.
Well, we'll fix that.
I know what's going to happen in August when I visit.
Well, okay, so the reason I know it is because herpes is not just what happens to the genitals. There's a whole string of herpes type viruses. Chickenpox is a type of herpes, right? And cold sores is a type of herpes. And so technically, if you ever get a cold sore, you have herpes. And you may or may not get them regularly, frequently, or at all, but you may still have this virus in you. But again, it's not the same as the virus that will, like, it can spread to the genitals, but it's not necessarily genital herpes. And I've known a lot of people who get cold sores, and one of their main things is to get lysine, either chapstick or lip gloss, or vitamins or tablets that have lysine in them, because lysine is an essential Yeah, it's essential for human health. The body can't make it, so we need to get it from our diet. And most people get enough of it from their diets, but it's great for calcium absorption, um, the formulation of collagen, which means that it's great for burn patients who are recovering skin, vegans who may not be getting enough of it, and athletes who are repairing tendons and like muscle and mass and whatnot. But also, if you have herpes and cold sores or osteoporosis, basically, if you're breaking out with these cold sores, lysine can help you rebuild that skin and clear it out and get rid of cold sores, from what I've seen, exponentially fat more quickly than just letting it heal. That's not scientific, but it is scientific that they say try taking lysine if you do have cold sores. But I have seen people heal up pretty quickly. Or, what they really say is if you are experiencing a cold sore, usually you feel kind of like a numb tingling in your lip. Start taking it then, and it helps prevent it at all. And so it's kind of kind of good for that repairing skin, renewing skin, regenerative restoration. And yeah, if anybody deals with that, it's kind of a cool thing to do. And apparently it is Sheldon's favorite amino acid. So that's my quick IQ point for that.
Very good reason for it to be his favorite. Granted, I don't know what the other amino acids are, but
they mentioned one, but I didn't do any research on it, so fuck it. Lysine all the
way. Lysine for the win.
Yeah. So they walk in, and Sheldon has isolated an algorithm for making friends, and it is a complete flow chart. And Howard says they should hear him out because if this works, they can open a booth at Comic-Con and make a fortune. I'd really like Howard's go get him attitude, his entrepreneurship there, because I'd probably check it out.
Yeah, like how to make friends. Like, ooh.
It's like the game, but without the sex.
Yeah. Well, that's fun, but okay. I guess I'll hear you out.
And Sheldon says that he's distilled the essence of Stu the Cockatoo into a chart. Howard suggests creating Sheldon when Leonard goes out. That was kind of extreme, but also kind of a funny statement that he's gotten a little rambunctious on his own, so you might try creating him. And Sheldon decides to call Kripke. And he follows the chart as he talks to him. And he says, "Are you interested in grabbing a meal with me? Okay, how about a hot beverage?" And then he goes on to, "Okay, what are your interests? Maybe we can do something." I don't know what the first one is. He goes, "Horses, really?"
I'm sure it's like horseback riding or something.
Yeah,
like that,
you ride them. I'm horses are in the bird category for me. They are majestical, but they scare me.
I've been horseback riding a couple of times, and every time I hate it. I am not into it. It's because like when you just do horseback riding, when you just jump on a random horse, you're not bonded with that horse. So of course it doesn't want to be cooperative. So of course it like resists you. It's a lot of like core work. It's a lot of like, it's hard. It's like, it is not easy.
A lot of praying to God that the horse will do what it's supposed to and get me where I'm supposed to and not run off with me on its back and have me lost in the distance. And I'm always afraid that I'm going to walk up and like be behind the horse without even realizing it, and it's going to kick me and knock my lights out. Like, I don't know why that is such a huge fear for me, but...
Because a horse kick can kill you.
Yeah, it's true. As Sheldon says later, that's not a fear. It is, what's he say, evolutionary. So he says, okay. And then he goes back and he's tell me another interest. And he goes, nope, I have no desire for water. And he goes, tell me another interest. And that's where they discover he is in a loop and decides, Howard says, I will fix it. And he goes and fixes it. He adjusts the chart, and Sheldon notices that he says, you find the least objectable activity. And Sean's like, that's a great idea. And he says, okay, this one sounds good. Now I need to learn how to rock climb. And it's weird because Kripke is so gross and such a jackass, but his activities kind of sound interesting. I don't.
He does seem like he has a very active social life and a very active, like, he has a lot of hobbies.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, sorry if you hear the pounding, just to FYI. I think my kid is doing some
Dancing.
tummy time and like
Oh,
pounding
no.
on the ground. So sorry about that, everyone, if you hear that. I'll try to mute.
Sure. So they go on. The next scene is at the gym, and Sheldon says, "Are you sure you're not interested in doing some ventriloquism? I'm really into it." And Kripke says, "Nope, I'm here to climb rocks." And he asks Sheldon if he's afraid of heights. And I get a point because I love Sheldon's response here. He says, "A fear of heights is illogical. A fear of falling is prudent and evolutionary." And I totally agree with that. I'm not.
Yeah.
In fact,
I'm not afraid of the heights itself. I'm afraid of falling and dying.
Story to tell you about my shrink. Uh, saying fear of falling is illogical. Fear of heights. Falling is prudent and evolutionary. So I was talking to my therapist, and I don't remember how it came up, but he suggests I have a high amount of anxiety, and so sometimes I talk about things that I'm anxious about. I get extremely anxious about flying. And he goes, "Oh, you're afraid the plane's going to crash or you might like die on the plane." I'm like, I'm not scared of the plane crashing. I'm scared of like the 2 to 3 minutes you have knowing the plane's going to crash and you're going to die, and all you get to do is sit there knowing you're going to die. And he like looked at me and I go, "Sometimes I read the transcripts from black boxes just to really freak myself out, where the captains are basically saying, we can't pull it up. We can't pull it up. We're very sorry. Good night, everybody." And then it ends. I'm like, that freaks me out. The ending, it's over. It's very instantaneous. But when you have 30 seconds, a minute to just sit there and say, well, that's it. I'm going to be dead in 45 seconds. That messes with me extremely. So I would say fear of heights is illogical. Fear of falling is prudent evolutionary.
Very well said.
But
and I cannot believe you do that for fun.
I don't
to
say
read the black box transcripts.
it wasn't fun. It's more like a compulsion, like biting your nails or something. Like I was compelled to
you
do
got
it.
this urge.
Yeah. And my therapist just kind of looked at me like he was kind of like, that is freaky, but also what the hell's wrong with you?
We're gonna need a pencil and some more some more appointments.
All right, so they start climbing, and I had a little problem. I didn't do any real diving for this, but I wanted to point out that Sheldon mocks the belayer, saying your parents must be proud. And
so rude. I was like, what the hell, man? He's keeping you alive.
Yeah. And being an active member of gyms, I can say that the belayers are usually like the best climbers in the gym. And they're doing this kind of because they love it. And they can outclimb anybody there. And they're also usually the ones who do tours outside. Like I know one guy at my local gym, like did tours of Mount Rainier and goes up to Mount Rainier summits it like several times a year on tours because he's just like a badass like that. And they also help set routes. And I have to say that a good route setter is freaking phenomenal. They are like artists. And some people, like, if you climb a good route, you're like, wow, that was so cool. I felt awesome doing it. And then some of them you do them and you're like, that was boring, or like that was too difficult and not realistic. But if it's a good route, it's measured accordingly, it's rated accordingly, and like it just feel great doing it. If there's like a jump in there that's practical and you have to jump from like one wall to the next, like it just feels awesome. So for him to say,
Hey, should we go rock climbing when I'm in town?
we should, yes.
Oh, we will record it and put that on the gram.
Oh, I
Let's do
like
it.
that.
Oh, we're gonna eat some brisket. We're gonna have some banana pudding. We're gonna go rock climbing
Right before we climb. Like, oh, fill in the brisket.
Oh, I will fall so hard.
I remember one time I had a friend, we had been drinking, and he's like, well, there's a lot of details and specifications in climbing. I'm like, it's not that hard. You just tie the knot. And I'm like, here, I have because like they usually give you a spare piece of rope to tie to practice with. And I started tying it, and I fucked it all up. And I go, okay, this is why you don't climb when you've been drinking. It's like, okay, Ryan, I don't know if I want to climb with you at all, but all right. So I love that line. I did think that was really rude and probably very inaccurate. That rock climber was probably a huge athlete and knows a thing or two about the outdoors when the icebergs actually melt, and he needs to know those outdoors apocalypse skills. He gets halfway up, and his fear of heights kicks in. And I was going to do a IQ point on this, but I called it my failed IQ point for the episode, that he compares himself to an inverse tangent function approaching an asymptote. And I was terrible at geography. So as soon as I realized that they were talking about geography and tans and cotans or whatever, I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah, I didn't even bother.
All right. But I can say that at moviemistakes.com, they actually have a page. They have several pages, but on this episode, they discuss a couple of things that we've discussed, and this is one of them. Whether or not it was accurate or inaccurate for him to discuss this or make an analogy like this. And the claim is that it could be correct, but again, this is getting into not geometry. There we go. Geography's fine. Geometry.
Okay, that makes more sense when you were like geography.
Sorry, yeah.
I was like, I didn't even bother doing a research point, so I was at this point I just have to smile and nod.
Geography, Ryan. Whatever the fuck you say.
Okay,
you and your trains. So they ask, Kripke asks us, what's the plan? And Sheldon says, it's not a plan, but I'm going to pass out. Then he falls backwards. So next scene, they are at the apartment, and they're all whistling together. They're like, one more time. And everybody's
they got to embrace it then and there without Sheldon.
And I like Penny's like smile in the background. Just like, yeah, okay. Then Sheldon brings Kripke home for dinner, and he initially sits in Sheldon's spot, who Sheldon kind of freaks out, but he's like, what the hell? You have your own spot? What type of freak are you, right? And he says, what are we having? Chinese food? I need to go floss the Indian food out of my teeth. And that there like made me cringe. Like, and Penny asks if Sheldon is okay. Says that he passed out. Yeah, he's fine. He passes out all the time. I didn't give myself a point, but I did compare myself to this because when I was a kid, I passed out all the time. I passed out a lot.
Really?
Yeah. It was mostly like if I fell down or like if I ever hit my funny bone, there was something up where my funny bone like made me pass out. It like caused low blood pressure or something. I mean, it wasn't scientific, but it was pretty regular. And I remember one time at school in 6th grade, I tripped on some stairs and hit my knee. And I was like, well, I'm going to pass out, and was kind of like staggering and fell over and woke up to like the school nurse like over me saying, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I pass out sometimes. She's like, that's not okay. I'm going to send you home, but I don't know what's wrong. I'm like, okay.
It might be above and beyond the abilities of a school nurse. Like, you might need to be like that. Like, did you ever go get diagnosed?
Nah, it took care of itself. It
Ah,
doesn't
okay.
happen anymore. So whatever.
It worked itself out. I still pass out, but you know what? I learned to live
Not to
with it.
fall down anymore. It's a pretty good lesson.
I just don't hit my funny bone anymore.
So I respect his thing. I pass out all the time. In that he says that it was worth it for the bonding experience. Says he'll have to let one of his friends go though, and he goes around.
And I love how he describes it. Like having 5 friendships is a Herculean task.
Yeah, it's very, very intense. And he goes through all the things that Leonard does, and he goes, "Okay, Leonard, you're safe." And Leonard goes, "Can I whistle?" And he goes, "No." He tries to throw it on board there. I like that. And
like, don't be silly.
He goes over Howard and mentions all the shit that's wrong with Howard. Like, your smell is offensive, but you're safe. And then Penny's like, I know, it's me. I'm the most... And he goes, hush, Raj, you're out.
Poor Raj.
Your questionnaire was atrocious. And he's like, how did you not know lysine was my favorite amino acid? He goes, he whispers, I put it, then changed it.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, Raj.
Then Kripke comes out, and he's like still flossing, which is, I don't know, things with mouths bother me. Sharing a toothbrush bothers me. Seeing other people floss, like I can watch it, bothers me. But the whole thing, thinking of bacteria in the mouth, is gross. And he like throws the floss on the floor.
Yeah, he made himself a little too comfortable.
Yeah. And starts talking to Penny, and she says her name's Penny. He says, no, I need something sexier. I'm going to call you Roxanne.
It was Woxanne.
Roxanne, there you go. And Howard goes by and says, he's looking pretty good now, right?
Yeah, suddenly I'm looking pretty good now, huh? Which is so great after last episode.
Yeah.
With the events that occurred in the killer robot instability.
And even from the beginning when they're talking about the image of him on vacation, I'm like, you know, that...
I'm not so bad now.
I'm not so bad now, am I?
And I love that Penny kind of just reacted very playfully. She just laughed.
She started laughing. Yeah, like, you know, things could be worse. And then Sheldon finally asks about the computer, and Kripke says no. And Sheldon's like, but I heard that you make time for your friends to use this computer. He says, no, there's an official schedule. And can't read my notes here either.
He basically says that he has no control over the schedule.
Yeah, that you have to like sign up, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he says my Y's backwards. That's why. He says, Raj, you're back in. So he's completely dropped Kripke out now and pulled Raj back in as a friend.
Because Raj likes monkeys.
He likes monkeys. And I like Raj is like, mm-hmm.
That's right, boy. That's right.
For shizzle. And last scene, they are at the gym, and they're talking about how they're impressed that Sheldon has stuck with it and that he almost made it to the top this time. And then you see Sheldon's unconscious body swinging through the air.
Yep.
And that's the end.
Yeah. We did it. That was the friendship algorithm.
That was a good one. It made me laugh several times.
Yeah, there was a lot of good moments in that.
What are you doing? Making a friend? No, you're not. Don't look at the camera. All right, so I can add up.
All right, I'm going to count the IQ points. We have 8 total IQ points.
And we are at 55 not being like Sheldon, 54 me being like Sheldon. So Sheldon made a comeback this episode.
Yeah.
Almost
I'm sure it's only going to get more and more as it becomes more Sheldon-centric.
Sheldon-esque.
Yep.
You know, I have to say, too, still no spoilers. I didn't know what was going on, but I did see a clip on YouTube somebody had posted, not even of Big Bang Theory, but I I can't remember why. Oh, it was a joke about Hot Topic or something, and it had some kids in Hot Topic stealing something, and apparently one of the girls was the lead girl from the new Ghostbusters remakes, the kid. And I looked it up, and apparently it was a clip from Young Sheldon. And I'm like, oh, okay, so Young Sheldon's going to take place in Hot Topics at some point. But I was kind of surprised because I had no idea who was even in it. So now I do.
Yeah, it's all on HBO, and it's been something that I've been wanting to catch up with because I watched the first like 3 seasons, and it's really good. Like, it's a very different energy and vibe from Big Bang Theory. I find it to be a lot more heartfelt.
I could see that. The way it was going was kind of like, at first I thought it was like something from Disney, like oh, stealing's bad type thing, or like Full House. But it was only like a 5-second clip, but it did seem like a different energy or different focus than
Yeah.
Big Bang.
And I will say, I feel like it retcons Big Bang Theory a little bit because of the way that Sheldon views his father. Like, I do like that young Sheldon is very like his parent, like centered around his parents and everything and his upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And you love Mary Cooper.
Yeah.
Gotta always, now and forever, Mary Cooper.
It's awesome.
And George, it does give a lot of redemption to his character because I feel like Sheldon had a very misguided perception of his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of clears the air.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
Because it does make sense that Sheldon had that misconception of his father because he didn't pay attention to his family. He was so off in his own world.
Yeah. For not to click or understand it.
Yeah. But anyways, that was the friendship algorithm. Thanks for listening, everyone. Any last minute comments of this episode?
I think we're good. I'm kind of putting it out right now. I ate most of mine.
Well, remember to leave us a review on Apple, and we will enter you into a raffle. More details on that later. Subscribe on YouTube. Gingerly tap that like button and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Theoretical Nonsense Pod, and I will get that monkey survey out for the best. What is your favorite pudding flavor? Let us know. And as always, email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. We'll see you next time when we talk about Season 2, Episode 14, The Financial Permeability.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening. Bye. This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl, and our logo is by John Kim. Thanks for listening.
Podcast over.